Well, very good evening once again to all of you. Today, we are going to keep going on the book, The Essence of Self-Realization. And we are in chapter 14, I believe. Yes, chapter 14, The Need for a Guru. And this is a very important topic, one that I think all of us has heard a lot about. And let's see. I just want to read a short story from this book. These are the words of Yogananda. It's the story number 2. A gemologist can distinguish between a genuine stone and an imitation one. If you go to buy an expensive gemstone but scorn expert advice, you may find that you've spent a great deal of money for nothing. A guru is like gemologist. He can help you to avoid costly mistakes, which might otherwise set you back in your spiritual efforts for many incarnations. Now, that is a very beautiful way to put it, a very simple way to put it. I know that Yogananda, Swami Kriyananda, when people will ask them, do I need a guru? Why should I have a guru? I want to put my own effort also. I mean, I want to do things myself. These days it's very easy to do things yourself, especially with things like YouTube, for example, that you can find how to do almost anything there, at least in this practical world, not practical world, I should say, in this material world. You can learn almost any skill on YouTube or in the internet and so many things. And people say, why would I need to have a guru? And it's very interesting because Yogananda, Swami Kriyananda will give such practical comparisons, examples on these topics. And they will also say, for example, if you want to get out from a forest, for example, you may be lost in a forest that you thought you knew the way out, you thought you knew the way through the forest, but you realize you are lost. That even if a little child comes to you and he knows the way out, of course you are going to follow him, of course you are going to take his help. You are not just going to ignore him because, no, I want to put my own effort, my own will and do it my way. Of course you're going to take help. And in the spiritual path, Swamiji used to say that spiritual progress, and I think those of us who meditate, I should say, who are in the spiritual path, can also corroborate this. Spiritual progress can be a little slow, at least certainly slower than we would like. We would all like to be in Samadhi right away after a few months of practicing Kriya Yoga or whatever it may be. But it is not the case. Usually, it is pretty slow, because we are changing ourselves from within. We are changing things that have been there for incarnations. And it can be very hard to gauge if we are going in the right direction. It can be very hard to gauge also if we are going in the wrong direction, that perhaps after many years, you've been doing something and for many years you've been going one direction, only to realize after you've gone enough that, oh my God, this was not the way I should have gone. And you had to go all the way back and then try something else, try something new, perhaps. Why waste so much time? Why get those costly mistakes when certain race of masters, certain self-realized beings have come to earth to show us a way? It is funny because people think like you had to just do mechanically whatever the guru said, and certain things, of course, we had to do what the guru said. I'm not saying no, but also we had to make the teachings our own, not in the way of changing them, but seeing how to apply them in our daily life, how we can make them in a creative way our own, that they will also work in our circumstances. Not everybody can serve in the ashram, for example. Many people have jobs, so they had to see how to apply these teachings also in their jobs. So it is not just something very rigid that there's no tolerance, you could say. The guru is indeed very, very necessary for the spiritual path. If you are serious on the spiritual path, you do need a guru. It is the most important thing, really. Many times we say how people are looking very much forward to getting Kriya Yoga initiation, and of course everybody should. But the more you go in the path, you realize that perhaps, more than anything, that time that you took discipleship, it is the most important time of your life. That time that you took discipleship inside, that you accepted a particular ray of God to flow through you, to open yourself to these great masters, you will realize that yes, actually, that was the most important moment of my life, and that is the one thing that's changing me the most. Yes, the techniques also change us, but only to the degree that we let others, like we let the masters, the grace of the gurus, flow through us. But, of course, having a guru is not enough. That we need a guru, and we all know, and it's always good to remember this little equation that Yogananda put. 25% of the spiritual path is our effort, 25% is the guru's effort in our behalf, and 50% is the grace of God. So usually God works through the guru, he works through instruments, so the guru has a lot of percentage to do for us. So many people think, I'm saved, and Swamiji used to say how some disciples of some masters, like Anandamoyi Ma, they used to follow Ma around, and after many years, he will come back and see them again, and they were pretty much still the same. They still had the same anger, still had the same human emotions that are negative emotions. It's because they were not really following Ma. They were following Ma's body, but not following her in the way that counts. Now, I wanted to tell a little story that Swamiji used to tell many times, and it took me a while to understand the meaning of it. But the story goes that there was a certain man who was being bothered by a demon. So he went to a pujari and asked how to get rid of this demon. And the person said, the priest said, just take this powder, say this mantra, and then the next time the demon comes, just throw it into the demon and he will vanish. So the man was very happy, he took the powder. The next time the demon came, he said his mantra, and he threw the powder into the demon. And the demon, he just laughed. Ha! Even before you could chant your mantra in the powder, I myself got into the powder. So how could it affect me? And so many times I pondered, what does that mean? Even when Swami would explain it, I say, what? I could not understand. But that means that is a representation of our ego. That actions that we do in this world, we are trying to get rid of the ego in the spiritual path, and whatever we do is already polluted by the ego. Whatever if we try to go by our own efforts, there's always going to be, we're going to be a little bit short, because to some degree, the ego is going to be involved, and we are not going to be able to find the freedom that we seek. That at the end, it seems that everything is going all right, but then something happens. That we realize in the spiritual path that in the end, there is grace that has to come to us, and that grace is the true thing that frees us. We had to put our own effort to attract that grace. So having a guru, the need of a guru, is also because he is the one that is going to channel that grace to us. And it is not a matter of formal worship or formal alliance to a guru or anything like that. And since we are very close to Christmas, I wanted to tell a couple of stories on the life of Christ that they can show some light in this topic, and that I particularly find very inspiring. One of them is one that you might have heard, that one time Jesus Christ, he was walking through a very crowded street, you could say, in a very crowded place. His disciples were trying to push everybody around, make a circle around him so he could actually walk. There was so many people. And at some point, a lady who was very sick, I don't remember what she had, but she was very sick. She had a problem from many, many years. And somehow she got close to Jesus, and she stretched her hand and she could touch his robe. And all of a sudden, Jesus Christ stops and says, Who touched me? And then disciples said, well, sir, like there's so many people, everybody's touching you. No, no, no. Who touched me? I felt power going out of me. And of course, the moment the lady touched Christ, she was well. So she knew that it was her to whom he was referring. So the lady, kind of apologetically, it was me, Lord. And she thought she may get reprimanded, but no, Christ just praised her, because through her faith, it was that she was able to draw from his power to heal herself, even though she wasn't a disciple of Christ. That the more we draw from the Guru, the more we attune ourselves to the Guru, the more we can find the freedom we are seeking. That's why Jesus said, to all those who receive him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God. That we have to receive the Guru's presence, the Guru's consciousness, in our consciousness. And that is the way to freedom. The second story is, I think, my favorite on the life of Christ, that I can think of right now anyway. That this was, I don't remember exactly where it was, in which physical place, but there was a certain centurion, a Roman centurion. He was a Roman official, you could say. And at those times in Israel, they were conquered by the Romans, so people didn't like the Romans. Of course, a great master doesn't care about those things. As long as their heart is true, they will help people, regarding of caste or race or anything. Anyway, this particular man, he came to Christ, and of course the disciples of Christ also were like, we should not help this man. But he came to Christ and told him that he had a servant at his house, somewhere else, that for him this servant was like a son, and he cared very much for him, but he also was very, very ill, critically ill. And hearing this, Christ said immediately, so you want me to come to your house and heal him? And the man said, no, Lord. I'm a military man. I have many people under me, many soldiers. I know if I tell this soldier, go there, he will go there. If I tell this soldier, go and do that, he will go and do it. That is how it works. And so I know that you are connected with a higher power. And if you ask that higher power to do something, it will happen. And Jesus Christ, in front of all his disciples, he kind of rebuked them a little bit and said, look at the faith of this man. And say, by your faith, or something like that, it will be so. And immediately word came that the servant was healed. Again, somebody that only he was able to attract that grace to come into his life because of his heart. That when we have that open heart, all the things are possible. So it is very important that when we meditate, we also meditate on the Guru. That we also try to invite the Guru's presence, the Guru's power to flow through us. Yogananda once told his disciples, there are many rats and mice that live in these canyons. It was in Mount Washington, so the canyons around Mount Washington. I said, they are not advancing spiritually. And of course, he was referring that they too, if they don't put an effort, they will not advance spiritually. Even if you are in the best company of all the saints, of all the Gurubhais, if you don't put the effort, you will not be able to advance spiritually. But then it comes again. You have to put the right kind of effort. If not, it's going to be again like that powder with the demon. Your actions are going to be polluted by the ego. And again, you're not going to be going very fast. So the spiritual path becomes this beautiful, you could say, beautiful adventure of being able to put your own God-given will, put it out in attunement with that ray of the divine. Let me see if I have something here. Yes. So, and then it is very nice because you can say that when you go into this path, it is when your tests really begin. That again, people tend to think that, I have the Guru, he will take care of me, which is true. but it's not in a way of removing obstacles from your path. He more likely will start throwing a little bit more in your way. He will throw thorns in your road for you to grow. And I have to say, without exception, that I have had, we all have had difficult times, and the only times you really feel solace is when you're able to remember the Guru, when you're able to remember that he is always there with you and that he's always the only one who is going to be there with you. That if, I don't know if you have a Guru or not, if you don't have a Guru and you're wanting one, well, the way to go about it is just to have a desire for God. When you have a desire for God, he will send you whoever is for you. That it doesn't have to be Paramhansa Yogananda or any of these gurus. He will know. And it's funny because we think that we choose the Guru, but no, the Guru is chosen for us. That one time a disciple of Yogananda left him, and Yogananda commented to other disciples that he thinks he will not find God in this incarnation or any other incarnation except through this particular ray that God has sent to him, which was of course talking about himself, about that line of gurus, that we think we have a choice on the matter, but we really don't. So once we love God, once we really want him, he will send the right channel for us. At the beginning maybe one, but then he will guide you to the proper one. And as I was saying, that I also have seen without exception that the best meditations I may have had, the best moments of my life, it have been always when I was able to remember that presence that is always within us, that when we open our hearts, we see he is there. I have had many beautiful dreams, or several, I don't know if many, where Yogananda may have come, or Swami Kriyananda may have come, or one of the masters may have come to my dream. And they are all very nice, very precious in themselves. But the main thing that always remains is that feeling, that presence, that you are in front of God, you could say. And that is something that you can recall back at any point, because it's the only true joy, it's the only true thing that can change you. That it may happen that you may have very deep meditation, that you feel the presence of the Guru within you, and the rest of the day will just, doesn't matter what happens. Because as long as you're able to recall that presence, as long as you're able to bring him to you, the day will just be blissful, no matter what happens. So it is our duty as disciples to more and more attune ourselves to the Guru. That's the only goal of life. And again, that is the surest way to liberation. That we don't have to become gurus, we don't have to display powers, we don't even have to see light or hear sounds in meditation, nothing. The only thing that we have to do is be good disciples, great disciples, perfect disciples. And the perfect disciple, as we have the example of Swami Kriyananda, and many others, of course, is those who don't see any difference between they and their Guru. They are total channels for the Guru. I just want to leave with this one more story that Swami Kriyananda used to tell sometimes. That he used to work, his desk was next to a window, a very beautiful window that opened to some very beautiful garden. And one day it rained very heavily. So a lot of mud splattered in the window, on the window. But, you know, since he was a very busy man, he didn't get to clean the window for several days or couple weeks. And he could not enjoy the garden anymore. But one day he said, now I have time, I'm gonna go and clean the window. So he went outside, started cleaning. And then he came back inside and said, what a beautiful window I have. And then he kind of laughed a little bit and he realized that the window was not beautiful. The beauty was that he could not see the window, that he could see the garden that was beyond it. And so it is that we have to also clean ourselves so much, clean our little window of the ego, that is a window for God to come to us, really. We have to clean it up until we not see any more mud, that we only see the beauty that lies beyond, that it is in all of us. We just have to keep going, we just have to keep cleaning it, and the only one who can do it is the Guru through us. So that is the most important thing. Do we need a Guru? Yes. The need of the Guru is essential, and it's also the greatest blessing that anybody can have. It is the thing that brings the greatest joy to anyone. With that, I wish you a very good evening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks, me or somebody else. Thank you.